Welcome to For Book Lovers Only Live Radio, where we discuss amazing books written by talented authors. For Book Lovers Only Live Radio is a proud member of the Village Connector Media Network. If you love books, we have a home for you. Now time for your host and chief book lover, Rob Brown.
Hello, book lovers, and welcome to For Book Lovers Only Live Radio, where if you love books, we have a home for you. My name is Rob Brown, your internet radio host and chief book lover. So excited that you decided to join us today. We are also excited because our in-studio guest author is not only an author, but she's also the CEO of her own book publishing company. So we're absolutely delighted that she has decided to join us today. But before we dive in, we want to announce really quickly our new partnership with the Book Trailer channel. They're on Roku, and for those of you who may be unfamiliar with Roku, it's basically a small device that you can attach to your TV, which is fast becoming the easiest way to stream free and paid video content on your TV via the internet. We'll be giving out more details soon, but wanted to at least let you know we're super excited to be partnering with them so that we can give you another avenue to more great content about the books and authors that you love. So stay tuned. We're going to have some more information about that at a later date, but we are really excited here. Now, our guest for today is a native of Newark, New Jersey. She's a former paralegal that left the legal profession to pursue her passion for writing and wrote 2 books. Till the Break of Dawn and Bridging the Gap. She is also the CEO of Enid Books Corporation, a publishing company that provides premium ghostwriting, editing, and publishing services. Enid assists its authors in every aspect of the writing process to ensure their books are well written, meticulously edited, and published. Enid is dedicated to helping authors through every step of the process. Please welcome to the show, Dawn Monique Edmond. Dawn, thank you so much for coming down from New Jersey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
We are really excited and ecstatic that you decided to join us. Now, I want to dive right in because obviously you're an author, you're a book publisher, you got a lot going on, so we've got a lot to cover today. Your first book, Till the Break of Dawn, this is a very personal book. Tell us about it.
It's a very personal book. It's a book about a relationship that I had. It's a book about relationship, sickness, compassion, and spiritual growth because I was on a spiritual journey while I was writing this book. The book is about a friend of mine, someone that I dated who got really sick. He had a massive stroke, and he was really sick, and we were no longer in a relationship, but he reached out to me and I went to him, and I just started to help him heal. And I became like a caretaker, as you will, for him, despite our failed relationship, despite the relationship he was currently in. So it was really spiritual for me but by the grace of God was I there, and was I kept there because it was very challenging. There was a lot of obstacles. There was a lot of turbulence, shall we say, between me and some other people that was preventing me from staying there to help him.
Right.
So it was very challenging, but I did it. I wrote the book about it because I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about being compassionate. I learned a lot about forgiveness, and I wanted to share that with people in a story. So people were thinking that they were reading a story about my relationship, but while reading the story, I was just teaching lessons to people, patience, understanding, compassion, empathy, love. So that was my reason for writing the book.
I think this is particularly intriguing too because you show this compassion, empathy, and love towards an ex.
Towards an ex.
It's not, it's easy to do that with someone that you're currently with, but it takes a special person and a special inner strength to do that with someone who you're no longer with, but you say, hey, this person needs my help. What was it that gave you kind of that extra spark to say, listen, I'm no longer with this person, but they need my help and I need to help them right now?
Well, besides being an ex, he's a person, and he needed help. And the fact that we were in a relationship, it didn't make it really difficult. I didn't dislike him.
Right.
besides the things that happened with us that weren't really good, but I didn't dislike him. And I saw that he needed my help.
Right.
And there was still some residual feelings there. So it helped me make that decision to come back. I'm like, you can't just leave him like this. You have
Right.
to. I wasn't planning on coming back and then coming back again and coming back again, but every time I didn't want to. It was like God was like, you can't just walk away from this man, because you have to help him. If you don't help him, then who's going to help him?
Right.
You're doing things because they're not being done.
Right.
So basically, it was I had to have these talks. I had to take myself someplace and in a quiet place and have these talks with God. It's like, you want me to do this, and you keep sending me back here, but I'm being met with a lot of resistance.
Right.
I'm putting myself in situations that are not conducive to me. But he just kept sitting me and covering me. So nothing happened to me. He was fine. He was taken care of. And I was able to write this book. I always wanted to write.
Right.
And I just didn't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I journal a lot. So through this whole process, I would journal. I would write about things that happened to me. And I was talking to a girlfriend, and she goes, no one would ever believe this stuff. She said, this could be a book. And I was like, it will be. And I wrote the book.
Well, I mean, it just shows such remarkable character on your part. Now, you self-published this book, correct?
I self-published the
Why'd
book.
you decide to self-publish?
I was researching publishing companies, and a lot of the big publishing companies won't take on someone like me. I don't have a name. They don't know who I am. So they created smaller entities, self-publishing companies that you can use, but you have to pay them a certain amount of money, between maybe $2,000 and up. So, and I was like, okay, so I give them $2,000 to publish my book. They edit for grammatical errors, is what they say. For my $2,000, they'll edit for grammatical errors. They'll give me 10 books, and then they'll put the book for sale on Amazon, and then they'll give me royalty payments from my hard work. So if I'm lucky, I'll get my $2,000 back. And if I'm not lucky, I won't. I didn't know how good the book was going to be. I didn't know if it would sell that much money, make that much money for me to at least recoup what I put out.
Exactly.
So I took my $2,000, instead of giving it to them, I invested in myself. So I formed my own publishing company, Enid Corp, which is, Enid is my mom's name, my late mother's name. So I chose her name. I formed my own company. I published my own book. I bought copies of my book with my money, and I made my money back in addition to some. And Enid Books, and the idea when I did Enid Books was, I'm like, you want to write, you're going to write more books, just publish them all under one umbrella. And then, so it just took off from there.
Now, I want to talk more about Enid Books, but I want to ask you, when you were looking at the process and you say, okay, I can either pay a publishing company $2,000 or I can take that $2,000 and invest it in myself. Is that something that you suggest more people do, or is that just for your particular situation at that time, it just made more sense to self-publish?
It made more sense to me to self-publish. For other people, I've suggested that other people self-publish as well, because it depends on who you are. If you have a name, or if you have like a great product, and not necessarily something about, like, if you're writing about a life, your life story, no one knows who you are. No one's interested in your life story unless it's really something that that's no one's ever heard of before.
Right.
And then you might have an opportunity to get a publisher to pick you up and make your money back. So that way you don't have the overhead. You don't have to worry about the cost of purchasing your books. If you want to purchase your books, selling them hand to hand, it's really, really hard to sell books. So for me, I thought, I advise some people to self-publish. And by self-publish, I don't mean go to a self-publishing company. That's what they do. They go and they look up a self-publishing company, and then they look at all the packages they offer, and then they put their money into one of these packages. I don't advise that, unless you're going to recoup your money back.
Okay.
It's not that it's a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing, because they do help you. But I did a lot of research. A lot of people don't really research. I'm a paralegal, so that's what I do for a living. So I did a lot of research before I decided to form Enid Books Corp. And for me, it's like I can do everything that they're doing for me.
Right, you can do it for yourself.
I can do it for myself. And then I looked at some of the books that they had, that they said that they did. I looked at those books. I looked at the Amazon reviews, and I said, I can do the same thing. It's not like they have this massive, they made these, how can you say, they crossed over into different areas, because that's one of the problems that Enid Books Corp is facing now. But I'm just 3 years in. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. But I see at this point, I'm doing the same thing for me that they would have done for me. So it was more beneficial for me to do it myself.
And tell us more about the services that Enid Books provides for authors.
Well, Enid Books, we will ghostwrite, or because most people are too busy to write. They want to. It's been a dream of theirs. Some people have really great stories to tell. Some people have businesses. I think if you have a business or a profession, a book will help you elevate your business. And so some people don't have the time to do it. So I do the writing for them. And also for people who have written, I can edit and format, but not just for grammatical errors. Like a regular publishing company, they'll edit for grammatical errors. If you pay them a lot of money, then they'll hire someone to write for you, which is the same I do, just not at the same cost that they will charge you.
Right.
And if I'm publishing a book, I need to make sure that the book is great. I'm not just going to take your book and edit it for grammatical errors. I'm going to edit for content. I'm going to make sure that the book it flows right. I'm going to make sure that you're telling your story to the best of your ability. I'm not just going to read the book and say, oh, it's great. Okay, I'm going to publish it. So that's what separates me from a regular publishing company, because I've read books and I'm like, why would they publish this? And they say, oh, because the person wrote it and said, I want you to publish it. I'll pay you a couple of $1,000s. So they formatted the book, edited for grammatical errors, and they published it. They don't read every book that comes to them. I read every book that comes to me. I read the book and I decide if it's something that I think is worth, that I like, that I'm enjoying. And then I'll say, I want to do it. But in order for me to do it, this is what needs to be done.
Now, is it also similar for, as your company does ghostwriting, do you also discern, like if someone comes to you and says, hey, I want you to write a book about XYZ subject, do you say, well, no, I don't think I want to write about that subject? I mean, do you have a similar process for who you determine which ghostwriting clients you're going to do?
Yes, I do. It depends on what the story is. If someone wants to talk about their profession, of course, I'll help them write the book. If someone wants to talk about a life experience, I will help them if you can prove to me that what you went through, we all have the same experiences. You know, people have been molested, people were on drugs, people are victims of, we all have the same, but what separates your experience and how open are you willing to be about that's what separates it. The ability to be transparent and to not be afraid to share things with people. So if you're open and you're really truthful about it, I'll write the book. But if you're hiding behind something, it makes no sense to write the book, because you're not being truthful. So whatever lessons you learned, you can't pass those lessons on if you're not being truthful about your experiences. So I don't want to write the book. You have to be prepared. You have to be ready. So that's the first thing I tell anyone that wants me to write for them. You have to be prepared. And you have to be ready. Everybody's not going to like your book. Everybody's not going to agree with you. People are going to talk about you. You know, then you're going to have some people who do like your book, some people who's going to take something away, who's going to learn a lesson from it. Those are the people we want to help. You know, you got to be prepared. I had a lot of backlash when I wrote Till the Break of Dawn. I was dumb for doing it. People couldn't believe I was taking care of an ex-boyfriend. I wanted him back. You know, there were so many things that I heard about it, but at the end of it, they got what I wanted them to get. You know, it was like, wow, that was really great. You were so, you know, I can't believe that you were able to forgive him. I can't believe that I'm sorry, he doesn't know what he's doing. I can't believe that you went through all of that with him. And so they got what I wanted them to get. You know, I got a woman who I used to live in Orange, and there was a woman who lived there. She was an older woman, and her husband had to have his feet amputated.
Right.
And I gave her a copy of my book. First he had one, and I would see her pushing his wheelchair, and I would like help her open the door and, help her carry her groceries, things that he could no longer help her do. And I gave her my book, and she goes, "Baby, I read your book 3 times." She said, "Because this is very hard, and every time I would get really annoyed with him, I would read your book." Right. And it would make me more compassionate, because it's hard taking care of someone who's sick. Someone who depends solely upon you. You have to get them out of bed, you have to shower them, you have to help them to the bathroom, you have to feed them, and it's hard, and it can become how can you say, you can become very frustrated.
Right.
It's not that person's fault, so you can't take it out on that person. As bad as we want to, say, "Get your butt up and go to the bathroom."
Right.
And we can't.
You have patience, exactly.
You have to have patience. So that's what my book talks about, having patience when you are pushed to the limits.
Now, Till the Break of Dawn, you said that you were talking to this person and they said they got more compassion from reading your book when they had to do something similar and taking care of a person that was infirm. Was that one of the reasons why you're like, I want this book to teach people compassion?
Absolutely. When I was in that situation, I was doing things that I never thought I would be able to do, and I would always say, like, I would never do that. And then when I was in the situations, it was like, if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And do you really want him to lay here like this? How is he going to go to the bathroom? Like, how is he going to eat? Who's going to clean him?
Right.
You have to you have to let go of all your things that you're holding on to about what you don't want to do. I don't want to touch. I don't want to do this, and you have to get it done. And you have to get it done despite how you feel about him, because at the end of the day, he's a human. He's not like I'm not going to say our relationship was great, because it was kind of rocky, but he's still a person.
Right.
And so God would want you to do something like that. What are you gonna just leave him there laying in a corner dirty and go to work and come back, he's still laying there dirty? No.
Right. Shows amazing compassion. Tell us about some more of your clients. You have a couple more clients. I want to talk to them.
I do. My first client is actually my niece. Her name is Deja Edmond, Deja Vu.
Yes.
And Deja called me and she goes, "Auntie, I want to write a book. I've been writing." And she sent it to me, and I was like, "Wow, Deja, this is really good." So I had the same. Deja's book is about her playing football. It's called Uniquely Made, Girls Don't Play Football. And we put the Girls Don't Play Football on it because everyone was telling her that when she wanted to play. "Can I play football?" "Girls don't play football." "Deja, go sit down." She asked her parents, "Can I play football?" "Girls don't play football." "Deja, go sit down." So I said, we can write this story, Deja. I said, but when you write it, you have to tell it's your story. If they told you can't play football, then that's what you're going to say. You can't say, "Well, I don't want to say my parents said I can't play," or "I don't want my parents to get mad." This is not about your parents. This is about you. So you have to be willing to tell it, and she was, and she has a great book.
Absolutely.
So she was my first one, and it's turned out to be really good.
Well, she's one of the first authors that we actually interviewed last year around this time. She's such an amazing young lady, so mature
really
beyond her years. And your other client, Pastor Ali.
Pastor Ali as well. Pastor Ali contacted me. His book is When a Father Fails. He had previously written his book, and he did what I'm saying other people with the publishing companies. He went to a publishing company. They edited the book, and they published the book. They didn't check for content, so the book was poorly written. So when he came to me about writing something else, I said, "Listen, we can write this, but when you write this, they're going to go for your first book as well, because when you write a second one, they're like, 'Oh, I want to see the first one.' So we don't want this one to be good and this one to be not so good. So let's rewrite this book." And he agreed. So I rewrote the book for him, and he says to me, he goes, I rewrote it through conversations. I had to talk to him about what I was like, what does this mean? Why are you representing yourself this way? This is not who you are. He's like, "Well, I was just telling my story." And I go, "Well, that's not how you tell a story." So I interviewed him. We had numerous conversations. I rewrote his book. And he goes, I can't believe that you were able to write my story like that. I can't believe that you were able to capture me that way. And I was like, yeah, he just wasn't able to, but it's true to form. It's who he is. It's the same content as the first book. It's just wrote better. It just flows better, and it tells a more accurate story of who he is. So that was my second client, and he was very pleased with his book. And then from there, we did another book for Deja. She did
Hair Chronicles.
Hair Chronicles,
Yeah.
The Struggles of Natural Hair. So Deja did another book, and she's working on another one as well. She's doing so well.
How old is she?
She's 12 now. She wrote the book when she was 11 years old.
So she's 12 and she already has 2 books under her belt.
12
That's
with
amazing.
2 books and a line of, she has a brand, Deja likes to say. She's like, I have a brand. She sells mugs. She sells tote bags. She sells T-shirts. Deja's doing really well.
She is. She's doing phenomenal. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about your second book, Bridging the Gap. Tell us about Bridging the Gap.
Bridging the Gap is my second book. It's a collection of short stories that I did with parents and, mothers and their children. And what we did was we talked about problems that they had. Like if there was like something that happened between them that went unresolved because they never really talked about it. And as parents, we have a habit of, it's what I say. This is what I told you to do. This is how it's going to get done. Or no, I don't want to talk about it. You're wrong. And that's not always the case. So we took some stories. I picked people that I knew had issues. I've either had a relationship with the parent or with the child, and we had conversations. So from those conversations, I knew of things that had happened with them that they never resolved. So I called them and I asked them if we could do this book, if they would mind doing the book, and they all said yeah. I had separate interviews with each of them about one particular incident.
Mm-hmm.
So the mother told me her story, and the child told me their story, and I took their stories and I wrote a story, and I gave it to them. And they were like, they learned things about each other that they didn't know. They learned things about the incident that they didn't know about. So what happened is, it's like if we have an argument and we're both yelling and screaming, we can never hear each other.
Exactly.
So we're never going to be able to resolve the argument. So I wrote and I put it together and I gave it to them, and then voila, they're like, wow, I didn't know that's what you meant. Oh, I didn't know that's what happened. And they were able to heal their relationship. And they have this book has, there's 5 chapters. There's, for example, there's one chapter of, it's called Anonymous, because everyone, I said in the beginning that you have to be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be prepared and transparent. So the one in here is called Anonymous. It's a mother she's married, and her husband has children outside of her marriage because he was infidelity. They have infidelity, and so he had children outside of the marriage. So her daughter is watching all of this, their daughter.
Right.
So she's seeing that, who are these kids? How do I have brothers and sisters?
Right.
How come daddy's never home? Why is he's never at any family events with us? And why is my mom allowing it? But they never talked about it. The mother never said, listen, you have children because your father had a relationship with someone else. He was unfaithful to me, and he had these children. So she never talked to her about it. She just continued to live and wanted to create this environment for her daughter, a father, son, a mother, father, and a household, and not realizing that it was kind of hurting her daughter to see these things.
Right.
So she said to me, I always wonder what my daughter thought of me as a woman.
Wow.
But I'm afraid to ask her that. And she said, this is the reason why. So she told me the things that happened. And then her daughter says, I think my mother's a great woman, but I don't know why she stays with my father.
Oh, wow.
And she loves
That's
her
powerful.
father. She's
Yeah.
like, my father's a great father, but he's a bad husband. So she got to see from her mother as a woman, saying to her, this is why, and this is what happened, this is how I felt. And no, I haven't always wanted to be here, but for you, I stay here because I wanted to create this for you. And she's like, you could have left. I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad I have 2 parents. I appreciate that you did. But as a woman, you should have left.
Wow, that's really powerful.
It is.
That is very
And then
powerful.
the best part is that it helped her marriage because her husband read it and was like, wow, this is what I did to my family. This is what my daughter thinks about me as a man, because he never had a conversation with her either. The whole family is better now because of that chapter in the book. So it was worth it. But the mother wanted to remain anonymous because she still has to, as a woman, she still has to deal with that. This man that you've been married to for years, has been unfaithful to you, and you continue to be married to him. He's continued to have children, and you know about it, and you continue to be there. And not that it's nothing wrong. It's a decision she made, but she still has to, deal with it and just accept it. And she hasn't been able to, so she's anonymous. Her and her daughter, their family is anonymous in the book.
Gosh, the power of books. The power of books. What other projects do you have that you're working on right now?
I'm doing another Bridging the Gap, Bridging the Gap 2, this time with men.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and it's a little different. There's not gonna be men and their children. It's gonna be men talking about some of their relationships, some of their challenges, because as women, I think we need to know these things. We need to be able to get into the head of a man. Men are not like us. They're not going to tell you things, or they keep everything inside because they're men. They want to appear to be strong. But they're not always strong. They might go in the corner and cry about it and not cry about it to you. And so I wanted to go into their minds, into their heads, and see some of the things that they're dealing with. So I'm not going to talk about it, some of the things that they're dealing with, because I don't want somebody to write a book similar to mine. But it's going to be very, very, very good. Just like this one, it's going to be very good. I have a way of getting people to open up, to feel comfortable enough. And again, I don't write everything that someone tells me. That's not my place. You have an option to say, I don't want this in there, I don't want that in there. But I want to make sure that you're giving me enough so that you can help the next person that's going through something that you're going through. I want them to be able to connect to what you're saying. And if you're not being truthful, then they're not going to connect. They're going to say, okay, no, something's not right. Well, they had to do this or they had to go through that, because readers are smart.
Right, exactly. Well, we're looking forward to Bridging the Gap 2. And for those who are listening to this broadcast, and for those who are watching, I want to give everyone your contact information on social media, how they can follow you. They can follow you on Twitter and Instagram at Enid Books Corp. Facebook, facebook.com/Enid Books /LinkedIn, Don Monique Edmond, and your website, enidbookscorp.com. Don, thank you so much for joining us today. We are looking forward to Bridging the Gap 2, and let us know when it's released.
I will. Thank you very much.
Till the Break of Dawn and Bridging the Gap, as well as Deja Vu and Pastor Ali's books, are available at forbooklaversonly.com. That's forbooklaversonly.com. Please stop by and pick up a copy. And while you're there, we'd like to cordially invite you to join our Book Lovers Club. It's absolutely free, and you can do so in one of two ways. You can either A, go to our website at forbooklaversonly.com. There's a pop-up that'll come up. You can put your name and email address in and hit enter, and you're automatically a member. Or if you like, you can go to 301-321-8887. You can text the word book to that number, and then you'll receive a message with a link. Click on the link and then fill in the form, and then click sign me up, and you're automatically a member. We're excited to welcome you, and we will give you a free gift just for joining. So we'd like for you to join today, and you can also follow us on social media. Facebook for Book Lovers Only, Twitter at FBLONLY, and Instagram at For Book Lovers Only 15. So follow us on social media. We are out of time, but thank you so much for tuning in. And Dawn, thank you once again for stopping by. My name is Rob Brown, your internet radio host and chief book lover, and this is For Book Lovers Only Live Radio, where if you love books, we have a home for you. Take care. I'll see you next time.